The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it was already blazing. There is a baptism with which I must be baptized, and how great is my anguish until it is accomplished. Do you think that I have come to establish peace on earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. From now on, a household of 5 will be divided, 3 against 2, 2 against 3. A father will be divided against his son, and a son against his father, a mother against her daughter, and a daughter against her mother, a mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." The Gospel of the Lord.
In this first reading from Jeremiah chapter 38, and it's getting later, and Jeremiah is put in this cistern, and the kings have their own ideas of what's going on and what they're going to do. They have their plans. And in Jeremiah here, he's a prophet. God sends him, and he sends him to give an unpleasant message. And the king just thinks, oh, he's just prophesying. He's like, Jeremiah is making all this bad stuff happen, and get rid of this guy. I got my plans. I know what to do. I got this, right? So, and he doesn't. He doesn't at all. And Jeremiah's message that he sent is very simple. What it really boils down to is, come back to God. That's it. Really what it comes down to. Do God's holy will. Come back to God. But the king has nothing of this. He thinks that all this evil is happening because Jeremiah is doing it to him. Forget about this guy. Or maybe that God is doing it to him. God is doing all these evil things. And so this king is doing everything wrong. If there is anything that Jeremiah tells him to do, because Jeremiah cares. Jeremiah actually wants what is good to happen to the people of God, but he had nothing to do with it. In fact, he does the exact opposite of what Jeremiah is asking him to do. So he's totally obstinate in everything, even though Jeremiah is sent out of love so that the people can be saved. And so the king has his ideas. He's got a plan. We're going to be saved. I got a plan. We're going to build alliances with these other kings over here. And logically speaking, what he does kind of sounds logical, but they're running away from God, right? So we kind of do this today. We run away from God. Anything possible that is opposed to God's will, we're doing it as a society, right? Drugs, free drugs. Go out there and do all the drugs you want. Recreational drugs. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. Kill all the babies in the womb. Well, let's do it. Yeah, that'll fix everything. We keep on going in the direction that is totally opposed to God's will. And that's what Jeremiah was dealing with there. If he was a prophet, he was the most unsuccessful prophet there ever was. Because the people absolutely refused to listen to God's word and to listen to him. They wanted their way. My will be done, not thy will be done. And the thing is about it is that if they would only listen to him, things would turn out better. But no. They refused God's ways. They refused his ways. They refused God himself. And that's the way it has to be with us, is that we have to accept God's ways, right? They have to accept God's ways but refuse. And today, it's the same thing. We got to either accept God's ways or reject it. It's hot or cold. No lukewarm anymore today. It's hard to be a cafeteria Catholic today. Really difficult. And that's where it comes to point with this. So now we would think that with this reading that would be, oh, Jesus is here to bring peace to the world. Look, if you're going to do God's will, I hate to tell you this, you might not necessarily have peace. You might have things better. And if the world is a world society, if we did that, that would be great. Then there would be a lot more peace. Yeah. But there's a lot of people out there who don't want God's ways. They actually reject it and fight, and they make a willed, conscious decision to fight against God. And that's why we need to make the willed, conscious decision to be for God. And to be for God 100%. There's no room for any middle here anymore. It's not 50% God. It's not 70% God. It's not 90% God. It's not 99% God. It's 100% having God first in our lives. Because if we don't have Him 100%, it's all a bust. Then if we allow 99% of God, but we leave that 1%, then we're leaving that 1% to the devil. And that's all he needs. He just needs to get a foot in the door. That's all the devil needs. So that's why we have to be 100% in. 100% in for God. So that's why Jesus wants us to set us on fire for this earth, right? I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. What is he talking about? Is he about buildings burning? Is that what is he talking about? People shooting each other down? Look at what's going on in Hong Kong. All this division because of human plans. We think we're so smart. We think we're so wise. We're going to save ourselves. And yet that's the very thing. We're running away from God, doing the worst thing possible, causing more disunity within humanity because we're not following His ways. We refuse to give up everything. We can compartmentalize our lives, but God will be there insofar as you allow Him in. So, great. You let God in this area of your life, but what about that area of your life? If you don't let God in that area of your life, He won't be there because you won't allow Him there. How can He give you blessings in that area if you don't allow Him there? So that peace and that joy that enters into the world is only there insofar as we allow Him into our lives. And it doesn't matter what all the junk that's going on. We ourselves, to be set afire, to set afire with the love of God. That's the fire He's talking about. The fire of the love of God, that divine fire, not human love. See, everybody's ideas, even the king's ideas, and even today's ideas, and everybody's ideas about how the world's going to be a better place, it derives out of human thought and the human heart. The human love. Well, we all know where that leads. Because the human heart is corrupt. But when we rely on God's grace and His love, that divine love, then, and only then, can humanity be saved. We utterly need God. We need to do His work, but it's His work, not ours. It's His plan, not ours. To submit ourselves. Yes, I dare say that word in America, submit to God. To Jesus Christ, who was willing to submit Himself to us. The one who was willing to put us, look at that, think about that. Jesus was willing to die on the cross. Jesus Christ crucified. When you think about that, by the very fact that He was willing to put Himself on the cross means He was willing to put you at the center of His life. And that's why we need to respond and put Him at the center of our lives. And there's no in-between. There's nothing. It's all or nothing for Jesus. It's all or nothing for this world. It's all or nothing so that we can all get to heaven, so that we can respond. That we can bring that fire of love that we receive from God because we've given ourselves to Him. Look, if we're not on fire for Jesus, I have to ask, have you given yourself totally to Him? 100%, not 99. 100%. He wants to set our hearts on fire with the divine love, with the love that only God has, so that we can go out into our neighborhood, out here in Freeport, to bring that same love to others, that they too may know of His goodness and His love, that they too may rely on Jesus Christ and give themselves to Jesus. That's how this world becomes on fire with the fire of God's love, to truly know His mercy and His goodness, to bring people hope and joy in this world. But again, if we're going to do this, there will be opposition. It sounds strange that love would be opposed, that divine love would be opposed, but it's there. And we all know it deep within because we all have a hard time giving ourselves 100%. We always want to reserve that last 1% for ourselves. And that's what keeps us from being that saint. To trust in Him, to know that He has everything in His hands. To know that when we do this, we become the person that He wants us to be, but the person that we really want to be. That grace may abound in our lives. That God's grace, the divine grace, may be working through our very hands and our feet, and our mouths and our eyes. What an awesome thing that would be, to set this world on fire, to be able to have a community that has given themselves 100% to Jesus Christ. How this world will be transformed.
Amen. Amen.